Welcome to another episode of It's Ashante. Let's get into it. Let's be real. The only things that we were ever meant to do was be born, find our purpose through God, and die. So it kind of makes me wonder how we ended up being so distracted by everything else that's going on in the world. We tend to stress over money. We tend to stress over clothes. We tend to stress over love, status. But God literally did not create any of those things as a measure to who we are or how we should view ourselves. None of these things were meant to define us because at the end of the day, God did not invent these things. Money, man made. Titles, man made. A lot of these structures, well, all of the structures, man made. Social status, man made. Marriage probably is man made, at least how we go about it in these days. And even what we define as success is all man made. These are all systems put in place by man as a merit of a measurement of who you are or who you should be and how you should define yourself. So you kind of hear things like, "Oh, you're successful if you make six figures." And it's like, says who? You're successful if you're a millionaire, says who? Says man. Because at the end of the day, you could have all the money in the world and still not have that internal peace, that internal joy, that relationship with God. Doesn't sound like you've mastered what you were supposed to master in this life if all you're mastering are worldly things. Then you have people say, "Oh, um, if you're not married by a certain age, you're behind in life, or you're a failure, or there's something wrong with you, or nobody wants you." Says who? Says who? Did God put us here and say, go stand at the altar, hold hands, light a candle, a ritual? No. Now, granted, money is great, companionship is great, but again, these are not things that we should be measuring our self worth on. Keyword self worth, keyword self. Meaning, how do you value yourself? Nothing outside of you can give you self worth. That comes from in here. Now, I know y'all have watched my video on things I wish I knew before I began healing. And if you haven't, I suggest you go back and watch it, honey, because I got real vulnerable. It got real. And I feel like, again, there have been times where I felt the pressure to be something or to have something. And I felt empty still. Like, let me tell you, okay, we about to get into it. Let me tell y'all how I used to be a YN, okay? I used to have this big old Rolex, bust down bezel, iced out buffs, jewelry, like straight up Detroit YB. And I still felt empty. I was making a lot of money. I was taking care of a lot of people around me. And for some reason, I still felt empty. I still felt alone. And it was when I decided to get closer to God that all of this worldly fortune and all of these material things were just getting snatched and snatched and snatched because again I told God I want to be a certain person, certain type of person. And that was an internal thing. The type of person I wanted to be, it was internal. And I said I want to live a certain type of life. And it wasn't me telling God I want to live a certain type of life as far as like luxurious and this and that. My perspective of life, the way I carry myself through life is what I wanted to change. So when I asked for that, honey, everything, everything got like ripped away, ripped away, ripped away. And again, that was God showing me that I was placing too much of my self worth into worldly things, things that God did not invent. God did not create, make up these systems like these things that they want us to say, "Oh, I'm a great person because I've accomplished," or my accolades are. I was measuring myself far, far, far too much with those things. Like, do y'all remember back in the day when we used to get on social media and just post? It wasn't a job. It wasn't, oh, um, how many likes this, how many likes that. You used to literally post your pic. You don't know who saw it, who liked it, who commented on it, because these weren't even options back then. You just would post your pic and go. Now there's this rat race of like validation. Oh, I post a picture, only got 100 likes, I'm gonna hide it. Or oh, I post a video, only got 10 views, I'm gonna hide it. Or it's almost like we are using um a worldly thing to give us our validation. And let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things. There's nothing wrong with wanting worldly things. Cause let's be real. It's a material world and I am a material girl. However, you just don't want to base your self-worth off of those things. It's in you, not on you. I'm not anti-money. I'm not anti-love. I'm not anti-success. Cause baby, check the resume. It's kind of nice. No, for real though. However, when we use these things to give us our identity, that is where a lot of us get lost. For example, I used to be the type where my mood would depend on my money. I was born January 9th, honey, Capricorn through and through, through and through. And baby, if my money ain't right, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to hear from nobody. I'm busy, tunnel vision, locked in, full of anxiety, full of baby, I'm restless if my money not right at one point. Now it's like, hey, whether I got some money or whether it's low or whether I'm going through a little whoop de whoop, I still feel like $1,000,000 whether I got $1,000,000 or negative $1,000,000. And I also noticed too, again, because this is not about validation, but sometimes God will use others in real life and it's up to you to see the message for what it is. Um, when I was going through things and I literally could not support myself and I needed help from the people around me, um, people still saw me for who I was, not what I had. So it's like, not that I'm proud of this, but shoot, when I was down, people got more jealous. The people who were jealous got more jealous. And the people who loved me even more because I had to realize that you have every right to still smile and have fun and enjoy your life and be carefree, even if your worldly things aren't measuring up to what the world says they should measure up to. You still that girl, you still that guy, you still that they them. Another thing is when people are so obsessed with their image. Like, baby, one thing about me is I don't care what how nobody perceives me. I don't care. You can perceive me however you want to perceive me. I do not care. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to operate in my full authenticity and you going to like it or you're not. Don't care either way for me. Or for example, always having to be like up to par. Like sometimes I go out, most times I feel like I only get cute for y'all, really. Or if I'm going to like dinner or something, but more times than not, my hair is in a ponytail or just relaxed, just wearing it down or it's in a curly fro or no makeup, sweatpants. Like I don't get dressed up to go to the grocery store. I don't get dressed up to do little basic stuff. Like I'm not trying to be Beyonce 24/7. Okay? Like I prefer to not wear makeup. I feel like I'm more comfortable without makeup. I feel like I look better without makeup. I feel like with makeup on I look old, but I say all that to say, um we also can't measure our self-worth on how many days we decide to get dressed and throw on some makeup and put weave on our eyelids and snap it to our scalp. Like, for what? For what? I honestly feel like we should be somewhere frolicking in some grass in an enchanted forest with my saggy boobs hanging and me eating some fruit, thanking God for a beautiful day. But no, somebody had to ruin it. And again, I am not anti money or success because at the end of the day, you incarnated in this era of life to master this era of life. However, I do want to ask you this. If money disappeared tomorrow, who would you be? If everybody was put on this level playing field, if they came in here and was like, "All right, y'all, money is now obsolete. There's so much wealth in the world that nobody should be hungry or starving or homeless or this or that. So guess what? You get a house, you get a house, you get a house. Everybody get a house. You get some food. You get some food. You get some food. Everybody get some food. You get clothes. You get clothes. Everybody is clothed, fed. We all got the basic necessities, right? Who would you be? How would you measure your self worth? What if Meta and all of them was like, all right, y'all, we taking away likes, we taking away comments, we taking away view count. Just we going back to poster pick and go. How would you measure your self worth? And that brings me back to when again God took me through there. Yeah. Oh, it's funny now, but it was not funny then, y'all. God took me through there, took me through there. So I say all that to say, um, one thing about it is, and I've said this in a previous video, please go watch things I wish I knew before I began healing. Because in that video, I talk about how I've unpacked generations of trauma, how I was trying to get closer to God, how I was trying to fix the way I thought about myself. Like, oh my goodness, my healing journey was me doing like 17 types of healing in one. It was intense. But again, when God started to take all of these worldly things for me, I started to realize, like, dang, I probably did put a little bit too much of my value on things that I literally cannot take with me. And I feel like the more things that got stripped away from me, the more I had nothing else to do except pray and meditate and get to know God and get to know myself and view myself the way in which God views me and measure myself in the way in which God measures me. And then I learned to extend so much grace and so much compassion to other people because I started to realize, like, we be a little bit too caught up in this worldly stuff. Like, you can't crave the world more than you crave relationship with God. You just can't. That's an imbalance. And once I learned to measure myself in those ways, you get guilt that goes away, you get shame that goes away, and you just stop giving up. Those moments literally forced me to look at myself differently, literally forced me to block out the outside noise and be so tapped in. It's like, I don't care what y'all talking about. You need to work harder. You need to do this. You need to do that. I don't need to do nothing but stay black and die. That's all I need to do. That's all I have to do. That's all I'm pretty much going to do. If I was to lay on my back for the rest of my life, no pun intended, for the rest of my life, that's it. That's all I'm gonna do is be black and die. So, you learn to view yourself and view your relationship with God as just that, a relationship with God, meaning can't nobody come in here telling you nothing about nothing. I learned that my purpose was never tied to what I had, and it was only tied to who I was through God. And that's not to say I was just like this mean, irritable, like, or this overly materialistic person, but again, I lacked balance, which is why God gave me a little whoop whoop, little pow pow, stood me in a corner for a second. Was not very gentle. Well, actually, let me not say that. It was kind of gentle because regardless of what I was going through, I was always taken care of. My baby was always taken care of. So let me take that back. Hi, Sally. So I started to see that even when I was at my lowest, people still sought me for advice. And I'm not saying that in an egotistical way. I'm saying that in a way that it shows that my purpose was about who I was and what I had to offer people when it came to things that were not worldly. I brought something into other people's lives that money could not buy. The gift of the way in which I speak life into people is something that never goes away. Somebody could give me a gift, I could lose it, it can become stolen, damaged, whatever the case may be, and I won't have that no more. And I started to realize that wow, what I bring to the table is something that money cannot buy. When once I give away what I give away, that stays with that person forever. And I started to see that as far more valuable than anything man could have made up. I'm the type of person where people will literally come up to me in the middle of the street for some reason and tell me their life story or tell me about a dream they had, and I will offer them a higher perspective. And I realize, like, wow, I really just helped this person find a bit of inner peace when it came to a certain topic or a certain subject. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of invaluable. That's kind of priceless. And so I started to measure myself in that way because, again, when you're doing things for people that literally don't benefit you at all whatsoever in a worldly sense, um, you start to view your purpose a lot differently. And so I started to think to myself, like, wow, I asked God, hey, God, I want to be this certain type of person and live this certain type of life. And I was like, oh, okay. So my purpose is not a job title, it's a way of being. In times where I am, and I'm feeling a little emotional, y'all. My goodness, I'm just feeling all fuzzy inside. So, in times where I would help other people sort through their thoughts or sort through the things that they were going through, or I would pray for people, that's when I felt the most aligned. That's when I felt the closest to God. That's when I felt the most bliss and literal euphoria. So the other day I'm meditating and this prayer is just running through my mind. I'm just praying, 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 praying. Like I could not believe how good this prayer was because I was just, having a little conversation with God. Like, God, I feel like my praying ain't like, I'm not this old anointing like, anointed prayer. Like, I just feel like my praying is a little bit awkward. So I sat and I meditated, and this was the most beautiful, beautiful prayer I've ever had in my life. And I felt like when I got to the point where I even prayed for people who wished bad on me, or people who were jealous of me, or people who, you know, um, don't have the best interest at heart for me, that's when I felt the most bliss. That's when I felt the happiest. That's when I felt the lightest. Because again, we're here to love each other, extend grace, extend compassion. And when I even prayed for the people who are praying on my downfall, essentially, um, that's when God gave me the most peace. That's when I felt the most bliss. But then let's put the shoe on the other foot. When I'm chasing material things, when I'm chasing money, when I'm chasing this, when I'm chasing that, these worldly things, I feel burnt out. I feel full of anxiety. I feel tired. I look tired. My face fat. My stomach's blobby. Like I just got all this stress running through my body. And I started to realize that at the end of the day, this worldly stuff is fun, it's cute, but true alignment, true peace, and true joy comes for who you show up in the world as and less about what you show up in the world as. So I'm not showing up as a tattoo artist. I'm not showing up as a business owner. I'm not showing up as um these things. I'm showing up as someone who gives love, receives love, extends grace, shows compassion. That's what really matters. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help each other elevate our soul so that in this next life, there got to be something after this when we leave this vessel. So, this right here has to be preparing us for that. So, we're here to help prepare each other. Teamwork make the dream work so that we can all live happily ever after this. So that's where the balance comes in because it's not about rejecting the world, it's about not letting the world replace God. You can't idolize things that were made by men. So you can have money because best believe, I'm telling y'all, it's a material world and I am a material girl. I'm not going to say it again. Maybe I will. But you can have money, just don't let the money have you. Okay? Make that money. Don't let it make you. You can love very deeply, just don't lose yourself in the relationship. And that's another thing about love. We tend to get into these relationships and lose ourselves. Baby, if you was going to the gym before that man, woman, or they, them, keep going to the gym. If you was eating healthy, keep eating healthy. If you were praying, meditating, going to Pilates, if you had your life before that, keep doing those things. And of course, fit the other person into your life. The right person is going to fit into your life. Just don't get into a relationship and lose yourself because at the end of the day, you can only love somebody as deeply as you love yourself anyway. You can only meet somebody as deeply as you've met yourself anyway. So if you're not putting yourself first and loving yourself first and meeting yourself very deep, you're going to end up in a surface level relationship anyway that ain't going to be worth a damn anyway. You can also enjoy nice things. I love me a good vacation. I love me a nice little bag and shoe combo. It's just you don't want to depend on them for your worth. I wear all types of stuff. So when I got on my expensive thousands of dollar bags and shoes, I feel just as lit, just as cute, just as fine when I'm wearing something that I was strolling through Target and saw like, oh, this little cute little sandal. Let me grab this. I feel just as rich, just as cute because I'm rich in here, honey. And I know you have a lot of people who get on these platforms and they say, "Oh, you're not a enlightened or spiritual or this or that or godly if you care about this or that." Babe, it's all a balance. Like you can make money and still be grounded. You can be in love but still be whole on your own. You can look good and still know this is not how I value myself. And I ain't gonna lie, I've mastered a lot of these things, but I'm still, still learning here or there. Like I'm still learning because if you listen, let the wrong person say something to me, you broke. Da 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 da. Da." I'm just playing. No, but for real, there comes a point where you're still mastering these things. There are times where I can find myself still being a little bit triggered about where I am in my journey right now, but then I remind myself that in a worldly sense, I'm on my way. In a godly sense, I'm on my way. And you're always going to be on your way. You can never get it wrong and you can never get it done because if you get it right and you're done, then you died. So, yeah, I'm still here. We're all learning. We're all growing. We're all ever evolving. And when you can learn to sit in that sort of mindset, taking everything day by day, taking things for what they are right now, life just feels better and it feels easier because I just don't see the point in stressing out over stuff that God did not invent. Like, God did not invent this. God did not come up with this. God did not say these are things we have to do and be or have. So it's like, why am I stressing myself up out over something that's made up? It's all lies. It's all made up. They made it up. It's all lies. What Michael Jackson say? It's all lies. They made it up. And speaking of being done and dying, like when you're done and you're gone, you can't take any of this stuff with you. And more times than not, people ain't gonna say, "Oh, such and such passed away and she drove a or he lived in a or they had a." People aren't gonna say this person made me laugh. We had great times together. I enjoyed their company. I was down on my luck one time and they pulled me out the darkness. Like that those are the things that people are gonna say anyway. Nobody's gonna be like, RIP such and such. They had a nice Rolls Royce. No, nobody's going to say that. So I feel like the best thing to do is focus on who you are without the money, the title, the image, or the roles. Like, and I mean roles as in, oh, I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I'm a life partner. Like that stuff is nice and it's cute and it's fun and we all want those things. Shoot, I want those things. But again, you have to focus on who you are to your core without all of that. I just feel like at the end of our little meat suit journey, you want to ask yourself, did I become who God wanted me to be? Or did I become who the world rewarded? Because sometimes those are not the same things. Some questions that I would ask myself that kind of helped me get to this point. And again, I'm still evolving, I'm still growing. We always are. But some questions to ask could be, what do I currently measure my worth by? If that was taken away, would I still feel valuable? Am I building a life? Am I building a relationship? Or am I just building an image? That set of questions can help you unpack who you are in a worldly sense and who you are in a spiritual sense, in a relationship with God type of vibe. So, yeah, that's just something to think about. Who you are matters way more than anything you could ever have. And that concludes today's episode of It's Ashante. See you next time. Bye.